Good afternoon, guys, and happy Sunday. Happy Father's Day to all of your sunshiny faces. You guys have to excuse my hair because I had it in a hat earlier today because we ended up going to the Cubs game for Father's Day. We went there to celebrate with my dad, and like my mom was there too. But for Father's Day, that's like why we went there. But we got up, I had my coffee and my breakfast, which was like really good, because normally I wouldn't have probably had enough time based on when we were leaving, but I got up early enough and was able to kind of do that and properly get myself all ready and everything. So then we ended up going, and we had parking, and there was a lot of construction, but so we planned on also leaving earlier, and we actually got there like less than an hour. We were actually originally too, when we planned on leaving, we probably would have gotten there like when the gates open, but we still got there like an hour early, or I think less than an hour early, and we I think it opens like an hour and a half before the first pitch, and we actually got there after an hour because of construction. And then we also had left a little bit later than we initially had planned on, because we found out then that it was only like an hour and a half early that you can like be there. So we thought again too, we were like, oh well, it won't take that long to get there, and then it was kind of a long time to get there because of the construction. And then too, it was also like finding the parking garage, because it was really weird because the street that we had to go down was blocked off on like two sides, kind of like two streets to get through. So then finally we were able to like completely drive around, and the street was still blocked off, but they were only letting people through that were parking in the parking garage. So like that's why like my dad was like, this street's closed off too, but there was somebody directing traffic that was like, oh no, you can go through if you have parking here, because the street was literally closed off where the parking garage was. So that was a little confusing, and it took us a while because then we had to kind of like circle back around. But we ended up getting there, and we were also one of the first, I don't know how many, the first 10,000 or whatever, I think that's what it normally is, maybe, of like fans that arrived at the ballpark, that you get whatever like the special thing was, because not only was it Father's Day, but they were also having the like Lou Gehrig's ALS like day kind of thing, because I think when that day was, the Cubs were not at home, so they were doing a separate day. They were doing it on like a separate day, which was also on Father's Day. So we ended up going there today, and again, it was my first game. I've never been to the Cubs game, to Wrigley Field. And the thing I will say though that is different, because I have never been to a Cardinals game, although when we went to St. Louis, like the Cardinals Stadium, I don't know what it's called, but it's like right in, like the downtown kind of area. Like we drove past it tons of times when we were just going to different stuff that's like in, St. Louis. So when we were there, what I noticed was they had a game one of the days when we were there, and maybe both days when we were there, but the one time the game was actually like almost starting, and like there was like barely any, like there was like no streets really blocked off. There was like very little foot traffic. It's like when you are in Wrigleyville, like when you are next to Wrigley Field, like I said, streets are blocked off. Like there's just people packed everywhere, and then there's so much like downtown like bars and restaurants and like all kinds of stuff. So compare that to St. Louis, where like I said, it was kind of similar vibes, I guess, because it was like in the downtown sort of area. And again too, they had like, again, restaurants and stuff like that. Like where we were going, I think, to eat one day was like they had a lot of people were there for like the game. And I think maybe also too though, we went to go and eat right after, but we drove past before the game started, and then we went to our like event thingy that we were going to, and then later we came back to eat, and there was like a lot of people that had just clearly come from the Cardinals game, and they were like eating in there and stuff like that, like after the game was over. But like I said, the vibe was similar but very different. Like, it was not as packed and as busy as Wrigley Field and Wrigleyville was compared to when we were in St. Louis, which was, like I said, very similar. Like, it was a weekend game day, you know, whatever, that, you know, similar to the Cardinals game that we had, you know, been in the area for, but it was just completely different. And maybe again too, it was just a little bit more because it was Father's Day and you know, like that kind of stuff, but I genuinely don't think that. So I think that it was just like because it's Wrigley Field and Wrigleyville and like people in that area, there was just so much and so much going on too. So like I said, we ended up getting there, and the game was, well, it's funny because when we went to the Blackhawks game, the first Blackhawks game, we almost experienced like everything. We experienced like overtime, a shootout, like all that kind of stuff. And then the Cubs game was very similar because the first inning was when almost all of the runs were scored up until, and they tied. So we ended up playing the Pirates. It was 2, they scored 2 runs. Then in the first inning, we scored 2 runs to answer. Then after that, there's no more scoring for the rest of the game. They ended up going into, and we threatened in the 9th inning. Then they end up having to go into extra innings, and the Cubs won. So we ended up getting to like experience all of that, the you know, singing of "Go Cubs Go" and extra innings. The only thing that we didn't get to experience was a home run. And that was the only thing, you know, from the day that, like, you know, is again to like kind of events or things like that. Like, again, maybe you go to a game and they don't win. Maybe you go to a game and they do win, you know, like, and you want to make sure that you've probably been to one of each. You know, hopefully you've been to a winning game of your team, and, you know, you might have been to a losing game as well. Like when we went to the Blackhawks game recently, they lost. But, you know, like, so that's why, like, it's just a couple of those things that you're like, oh, I want to know what it's like. What's it like to experience it being at the ballpark when they actually, you know, get a home run? What is it like when they actually win a game? You know, like that kind of stuff. And that we just didn't get to see the home run, but we got to see the win and extra innings too, which is kind of unique because that does not happen all of too often in baseball. But I thought that was really cool, and, you know, we had a really good, fun day, you know, getting to celebrate Father's Day with my dad and getting to hang out at the ballpark. So anyways, I'm gonna take a shower and get to bed because I am super tired right now. It is really late, and I also got up kind of early. So I'll see you guys in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, we'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye guys.